I
It's,
want to uphold the integrity of the game.
okay, here's where we're not connecting here. So do I, but I think if you were to make an argument of what is upholding the integrity of the game more,
Neither of them are.
I don't understand why baseball is so hard to get into the Hall of Fame. Like, I know that you don't want to make it the Hall of Good, but like, or the Hall of Really Good, but there's some players on here that you see the name and you'd expect them to be in there. Like, you would expect that Felix Hernandez and Torrey Hunter would get into the Hall of Fame. You'd expect that, like, it's not like Jimmy Rollins is a Hall of Fame player, but didn't he have a gold glove at some point in his career? I mean, he might have had a bunch. I might just be stupid.
I think Jimmy
But
Rollins won an MVP, but
okay.
it's not like I think. Oh, yeah, Jimmy Rollins won National League MVP in 2007. But it's more about
Oh.
Gold Gloves are important, but also Gold Gloves are weird because Gold Gloves kind of become this. Once you start winning, once you win one, you win five. It's kind of how it is.
Well,
Not
just because
discounting it, but
yeah.
if you have the defense isn't the only thing though that matters, right? If you're
I know. Defense
Alex
is a little
Gordon,
less valued than batting.
yeah. If you're Alex Gordon, who was the best outfielder in baseball for a decade by far, but had an average bat at best, like to me, I think you're a great player, and he's my favorite all-time Royal. I just, from an offensive standpoint, you look at his numbers versus other outfielders that are in, it'd be hard to justify putting him in because of that. And I'm with you as far as how the Hall of Fame works in MLB versus other sports where it's like impossible. Like I look at this ballot right now, and I think that there will be players that'll get in. I think Carlos Beltran will get in. He was 5% short last year. I think he'll get that next 5% that he needs to get in this year. But I think every time MLB has a year where nobody gets elected, I think is bad for baseball. I think it's bad for sports in general. So there is a part of me that's like, yeah, they should loosen up a little bit. But on the flip side, I like that it's so prestigious and so hard to get in. Where you look at like NFL just tightened up their requirements and made it harder to get in because it was like everyone and their dog was getting into the hall every year, and they tightened it up and it's better. Like,
Yeah.
no shade on Eli Manning, but like they tightened it up and he probably would have been first ballot Hall of Famer 2 years ago, but didn't make it this year.
Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer, dude.
Oh no, I agree with you.
Okay. I was
Yeah,
about to say. I was about to
no,
say.
I agree with you. I just
I mean, I'm looking at this list. Like, it's so many players that are really just like they're not Hall of Fame players. They are players that played for such a long time. You remembered their name. You remembered that they were one of the key pieces in a lineup for a long time. Like Shin-Soo Choo. I am wagering that he didn't have more than one Silver Slugger, and he probably didn't have more than one Gold Glove in his career. And when you're looking at like someone's track record of success, you want to see, you know, their accolades, and you want to see what's in your award cabinet at home. And someone like Alex Gordon, regardless of his offensive output, I would say definitely deserves it over someone like Cole Hamels. I mean, unless I'm stupid and he won the Cy Young or something when he was a rookie and
Cole
I didn't remember.
Cole Hamels never won a Cy Young. Cole Hamels is a very good pitcher. He was kind of though he was on those really good Phillies teams in the late 2000s, early 2010s, where he was with Roy Halladay, Cliff Lee, and like
Yeah.
Roy Oswalt. He was on those teams. He was kind of like the third or fourth starter there. He was a very solid player,
But
but
again, like Matt Kemp, Nick Markakis, Daniel Murphy, like
yeah, Matt Kemp got robbed of an MVP from other first time ballot appearing Ryan Braun when Ryan Braun was cheating. Matt Kemp should have won that award that year. You know what's so funny about Ryan Braun and his cheating scandal is he tested positive and then convinced people that it didn't happen. And they're like, oh, yeah. And he avoided suspension and then got in trouble for it again and got suspended for it. It's like, Ryan, what are we doing here? Like, you got caught, you weaseled your way out of it. Maybe just go, oh, we got away with one there and walk away from it. Don't try it again, you moron.
Yeah, this dude.
What's your what's
Well,
your what's your stance though? PED players, Moses. Should they get in? Should they
I
not get in?
mean, I absolutely think that they should be getting in. That's probably a very unpopular opinion, but I still think that if you're not juicing for every single home run that you're hitting, every single diving catch that you're making, like,
So if you're only cheating some of the time, it's fine, is what you're saying.
I mean, I don't think Alex Rodriguez was juicing when he was like, what was the time frame that he got busted for? Was it whenever he was first coming up and hitting 40 dingers a year, or was it whenever he was getting old and he needed to keep up his reputation of being a dinger hitter? Like, okay, so tell me this.
So,
Edwin Encarnacion is
mm-hmm.
one of the inductees this year.
A-Rod
He led
admitted
the
to cheating when he was young with the Rangers, by the way.
he got busted for cheating when he was young and with the Rangers.
Yeah, he admitted to it. He confessed.
And he did not get busted again for the rest of his career. He had another scandal, I know, when he was older, and he was like,
He had a
I
scandal.
took a
He was in the
supplement.
biogenesis list with him and a bajillion other athletes. He got suspended for a year because of that late in his career. But like late in his career, early in his career doesn't matter. Like, oh, he was old, so he was trying to hold on. No, if you're old and you stink, it's time for you to retire.
I mean, okay, so this kind of touches into like the whole integrity of the game conversation that we had with gambling. Like, you don't
Mm-hmm.
want to ruin the integrity of the game. Like, you don't want people to think that it's all rigged. But a sport is an entertainment business. It's in the industry of entertainment.
You're
And I think that someone getting caught gambling is a stupider, lower IQ reason to be in trouble than it is to be a juicer successfully getting away with it while you're clearly doing so good. Like, is that not Hall of Fame level acting? Is that not Hall of
I
Fame
mean,
level
I think you're going down
scandal?
a slippery slope. I think when you're listen, if you're a player that you think is so great and then it turns out you're cheating and the rug gets pulled out from under you, what does that say about you? You're kind of scummy.
Okay, I want to see the list of, like, okay, obviously this is probably me being dumb, but most of the performance enhancing drugs that these people are taking are actual legitimate, really not good for you steroids.
Mm-hmm.
However, like, I'm kind of questioning if there's things that are reasonable that are on the list of performance enhancing drugs. Like, didn't like like players couldn't even take like Zins. Like, they couldn't Zin because they were considered a performance enhancing drug. In these PED scandals, I'm sure that they are actually like actual performance enhancing drugs like steroids, but I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Okay.
hey, how much more fun would it be to play a video game with an automatic home run hitter? What are they going to do? Nerf the game
Okay.
because
A
he was a
video
PED
game,
user?
now you're removing from reality though. You can do whatever the heck you want on a video game. On 2K6, we used to turn on super bunts and metal bats. Like, that's the
True.
thing. But in the heat of a moment, when you have somebody like Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, both of which they're not on the baseball writers ballot anymore, but they're going to have a chance to get into the Hall of Fame. At least one of them on the contemporary ballot this off season. You're telling me
Probably
that
because they're freaking ballers.
somebody
I
that is
mean,
the single season home run record and the all time career home run king deserve that cheated deserves to be in the Hall of Fame? No,
I mean,
that's bullcrap, and it's a scam,
I
and he should
mean,
be.
I'm not telling you that anything you're saying is not invalid. Everything you're saying is valid. However, they still did it, and they're still better.
But why are they better? Why are they better?
Okay, so if every single Royals player were to start juicing, would Jack Caglione's swing be fixed if he started juicing?
Let's play a game here. Let's talk about cheating. I want to talk about 2017 Houston Astros sign stealing scandal.
That's
Let's
completely
no 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 no
different.
no no no. Cheating is cheating. So Astros, well-known
I
fact
don't know about
that
this
they were
argument.
stealing signs. They had a video set up in their tunnel. They're relaying fastballs with trash cans. How do you feel about the 2017 Houston Astros? How do you feel about AJ Hinch, Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman,
Okay,
Carlos Correa? Do you think they're all Hall of Famers? Do you think they're all stand-up players? Do you love them, or do you love to go to the ballpark and boo them and pray on their downfall?
obviously everyone hates them. That's a brand of cheating that I do not endorse because I
What's
hate
the
that.
difference?
You're bad at something, and you and an entire organization are conspiring and doing so much to get an edge on every little thing. Whereas one guy goes and gets a little bit of a drug. I don't know what it is, but they inject themselves. They take their own risk, their own health into question. One person does this thing, and then they go out there and ball, and they show off the fact that they're better. Like who
But
who
why
okay,
are they better?
why are they better? Because the steroids.
We're missing you're missing the
I
point.
just
You
don't
keep
know
saying
if I
because they're better, but why are they better?
okay. I'm not going to say that your like points are invalid. They're all valid, and it's hard because I don't necessarily disagree with them either. All I'm saying is it's a different brand of cheating. I guess what I'm trying to say here is like to make another baseball video game analogy. If you were to be playing a video game and you were to screen cheat, a unskilled player, an unskilled person could then appear skilled and get an edge on someone by screen cheating.
Hmm.
The Astros are doing the equivalent of screen cheating. Whereas what Barry Bonds and them are doing is okay, you're playing MLB The Show 25, Aaron Judge is up to bat, and you go into the settings and you make the hitting power go from completely average to 55. So now the pop fly that went to the warning track goes over the wall. What percentage? I mean, how much credit are we giving the steroids here? I think that's what it comes down to because like I think I'm giving less credit to the steroids than you do. And you're saying it doesn't
Okay,
matter how much the steroids
so
is giving them, it's
let's
still cheating.
let's
I think it's a
go.
different brand of cheating that's worse for the game because like you're bringing in an entire organization. There's dozens of people
Here
involved doing
here's the
crappy,
problem.
stupid like that's like it's low IQ cheating. Like it's
Here's the
stuff that you're
problem.
doing.
Here's the
Okay.
problem. Let's go back to 1998, the home run chase between Sammy Sosa, Mark McGuire. You could make an argument, and I'd probably agree with you that it saved baseball as a sport. 1994, you had the lockout, the strike between the players that ended the season. They didn't have a postseason that year. They had a lot of terrible things going on. Baseball needed to get back on track. 1998, Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa, home run chase, and they're hitting 60 plus 70 home runs. Guess what? Both of them were cheating. Do you think that that's good?
So it just so happens that I just saw a video today of Sammy Sosa getting busted for having a corked bat. Do we know what year that was? Might not be relevant to that exact point you're making, but that alone is going into
2003. So that was 5 years
2003.
later.
So not only was
Cheaters
Sammy
cheat,
Sosa
man.
so not only was Sammy Sosa juicing, but he also didn't even believe in himself that he had to go out and cheat by getting a different bat. That kind of player is a loser and they deserve to
They're all
not get any
losers.
credit for anything.
They're all losers.
But
If you
what
if you
level?
feel if you feel like I I need to I need to have an edge somehow. I'm going to take these drugs or do this thing. And then all of a sudden, your numbers go from this to this. Yeah,
I
that
guess all I'm trying to say is like you're going from a brand of cheating that's like changing the game to changing your own performance. Like
uh-huh.
these people that are giving themselves the edge by cheating with steroids, obviously they would not have been as good as they were without them. But
Obviously.
if it's a question of like literal physical power with the swing, people like Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa, they were clearly juicing and their bodies were extremely unnatural. But someone like Alex Rodriguez, you could borderline barely tell. Barry Bonds was a big guy, so you could borderline barely tell. I don't know. I mean,
No,
this could
look at
be an invalid argument
I
because
want
both
you to
of
do an
them.
exercise. I want you to do an exercise right now. I want you to and we'll put pictures up of Barry Bonds of when he was with the Pirates and when he was with the Giants. And I
Okay.
want you to look at his physique and how he looked then. He was a very good player with the Pirates, by the way. Then went to and with the Giants, he's massive. His forehead is huge, which is a sign. So, you talk
Yeah,
about
I mean, it's
physical
an
appearance.
part of all I, the argument where I'm coming from is it's a very lame and very like your entire organization sucks and you all deserve to not play ever again if you're doing what the Astros did because you're trying to get outside resources. You're cheating by bringing in, you know what's coming because you're screen cheating, whereas someone else is just juicing, so they themselves as their own human body are becoming better because of the drugs they're taking. It's unfortunate.
You were doing some gymnastics to
It's unfortunate
justify
because
that.
someone like all these players, they're clearly gifted athletes. They could have achieved it without the drugs. So there is a brand of
They
them,
sure could have.
or there is a scenario where you wish, like obviously, all of us wish that they wouldn't have done that and they would have done it naturally, so that they could be like, "Hey, I did it all natty," but they didn't. Which that alone is like a character flaw. It makes you think that they suck. But for me personally, I look at it where I appreciate the fact that they're willing to put their health, like they're willing to hurt their own bodies, and they're betting on their own abilities. As if you were to look at, okay, let me give you a little mental gymnastic, or not mental gymnastic, but a little mental scenario.
All right, let's hear it.
If you had to pick between the two, you're looking at a lineup of a bunch of juicing gigantic lunkheads. You got a
Mm-hmm.
big, okay, and not to make you picture naked people, but what I'm thinking is these people, their entire human body vessel is what is giving them these. It's them. It's their body. It is a human body doing it. Plus a little bit of a drug, but it's
Mm-hmm.
still a human body. A human body, naked human body,
A
wearing
drug.
clothes,
Yeah.
playing with the same bat,
Plus a
plus a
drug.
sprinkle of drug, plus a sprinkle of drug. You have a lineup of all these lunkheads,
Mm-hmm.
or you have a bunch of freaking losers that aren't going to amount to anything like AJ Hinch off on this,
Uh-huh.
and they're hitting trash cans and they have video cameras and they are stealing signs. Do you want to be the screen cheater, or do you want to be the person that has people that are better?
I don't want to be a part of either of those.
Okay, I didn't give you that. That's not an option.
I'm not picking. Uh,
You have
I
to pick.
want to uphold the integrity of the game.
So do okay. Here's where we're not connecting here. So do I, but I think if you were to make an argument of what is upholding the integrity of the game more,
Neither of them are.
yes, I'm
I'm
not
not
disagreeing.
picking.
I'm
I'm
not
not
disagreeing.
picking.
Okay, you don't pick. We're on from that. I'm not disagreeing with you that it's not upholding the integrity. Like, I obviously wish they didn't do it. I obviously think that is valid reasons that they're not in the Hall of Fame because they're cheating.
Mm-hmm.
But my argument here, it's the way they did it. Like, I would rather not be like, if you're telling me I had to be a Giants fan during the Barry Bonds home run era and then find out he was juicing versus being a Astros fan finding out that they won the World Series by a series of elaborate cheating scandals. I would rather know that my one good player was doing steroids than my entire organization won it all because they were cheating every step of the way.
All
And
right.
my whole argument, I'm not validating what they're doing. However, I think that the type of cheating, I would rather know that the person is making this decision on their own, one person making a decision on their own to affect themselves, placing bets. Like, here's the thing. What if they juiced and sucked? How many people do steroids and then they suck and you're like, wow, you still sucked? That's horrible. But then the people that juiced and did successful, they would have been good players without it had they put in the time and effort, but they didn't put in the time and effort because they knew they could take the easy way out and they have low character, they have low self-esteem, and they thought they couldn't achieve it on their own. I'm saying that these players could have been that if they would have worked on it and worked at it. Whereas the Astros could not have done it. There's no chance the Astros win. That they don't go to the playoffs. They don't.
Okay.
I mean, they probably make the playoffs.
I
But
actually disagree with you on that because I think the Astros were good enough to do that without the scandal. And because you see what they did in 2018, in 2019, 2018 ALCS, 2019 World Series, 2020 ALCS, 2021 World Series, 2022, 20 and so on. They went deep into the postseason every year. They did something that they didn't have to do because they
I
had a good
know.
roster. They had a good
I mean,
team. Let's move off of it though. Let's just take a
okay,
look at the Hall of Fame ballot for 2026 right now. And there's a lot of first timers on there. I think there's, what do you say? There's 15 of them.
12.
12 of them. Yeah, you're right. 12 of them. But the one from a Royals standpoint, Alex Gordon on the ballot. Um, he's already in the Royals Hall. One of the best outfielders of his generation. Really cool to see his name on this list. He's not going to be a Hall of Famer, but still very cool to see him on the list. And I'll be curious to see what his percentage is when they do this vote to see if he'll get enough to stay on the ballot. But pretty cool. If I had it my way, Alex Gordon would be a Hall of Famer. If I had a vote.
Okay. You had me going there for a sec. I was about to say, okay, so you said if you had it your way, do you think Alex Gordon deserves to be a Hall of Famer?
Defensively, yes. Offensively, no. And you can look at his 2016 through 2018, I believe, when he was just might as well have had his helmet on backwards and just was hitting like 200 and was just not productive whatsoever. I think he was a long shot heading into that stretch, but that stretch alone pretty much eliminated any opportunity that I think he had to be a Hall of Famer.
Okay. Is defense as valuable as offense?
I think it depends on the position. I think if you're looking at a catcher, yes, a lot of catchers are known for their defense and not necessarily their offense. Like, unless your name is Mike Piazza or you're Salvador Perez, Buster Posey, those types of players, Joe Mauer. But for the most part, you get a backstop that is just an elite defender, and you can kind of throw him in the 8 or 9 spot in the lineup and just deal with whatever you have to deal with there, and you'll see a lot of catchers get um, the the benefit of the doubt offensively. But I think offense is such a huge part of being a Hall of Famer because that's while you can make great defensive plays, you can have web gems, you can win Gold Gloves, Platinum Gloves, all these awards. I think what you do at the plate is kind of your where you have the most control, what you do in big situations, or how productive you are at the plate is, to me, for the most part, way more important than what you do defensively. Now, I think I don't say that to mean that you can just be a average or below average defender, but you've gotta do your job at the plate and be elite.
Was Alex Gordon the best left fielder of his generation?
I would make an argument outside of maybe Mike Trout that Alex Gordon was the best outfielder of his generation
Okay, so for a 10 to 15 year span, one person was the greatest at their position
defensively.
defensively. So where does that value come into play when you have someone like, I see on this list we have a Felix Hernandez. I think someone like Felix Hernandez he's a starting pitcher.
Uh huh.
So I think that his does like how much he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. He only plays 1 out of every 5 games.
Mm-hmm.
He's a stud and his statistics are good. But for someone like Alex Gordon, who balls out every day for 15 years,
Mm-hmm.
and he gets the accolades to prove it, how like I know Felix Hernandez probably has a Cy Young or two.
Is Yeah. Felix Hernandez has one Cy Young. He was a 6-time All Star. He was top 5 in Cy Young award voting like 5 times. I think with Felix Hernandez, when you look at somebody like him, you look at you have to look at how long he was dominant. And I think the voters are going to say, I don't know if he was dominant long enough.
Okay, okay. My my biggest stance here is I'm looking at some of these players, and I'm not saying I only value defensive output here because like obviously I think offense is the name of the game for baseball. If it were up to them, they would be a offensive league or offensive league.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I think if it were up to baseball in the MLB, they would be an offensive league and it would be super lopsided. I think they care a lot less about. I think they need, you know, every day they want to do top plays of the day. They want to have 6 or 7 diving plays. They want to have 6 or 7 big cool plays on defense, but they want to be able to put together a highlight reel of all the Shohei Ohtani home runs, all the Aaron Judge home runs, and it's annoying, but you're gonna have to really argue to tell me that someone else like Ryan Braun getting one MVP that he stole does not make him like is one MVP worth more than how many Gold Gloves did Alex Gordon have?
He had one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. He had 8 Gold Gloves in his career.
8 Gold Gloves, 1 Platinum Glove.
Mm-hmm. But you look at his career average, and he hit 257. He's a 257 career average.
That's average. So he's average at the plate, but he is generationally elite on defense. Lots of these players don't have like Edwin Encarnacion being on the list. Like, okay, he led the American League in home runs maybe twice.
Mm-hmm.
Does that validate more than an entire career of being the best in the entire outfield in the entire league for his generation?
So I'm looking at Hall of Fame left fielders right now, and the lowest batting average I see now. Granted, batting average is not the entire story. I know that. So all you analytics freaks, calm down. The lowest batting average I see, unless I'm missing it, is Ricky Henderson, 279 career average. Now, what do we know about Ricky Henderson? Scored a ton of runs and had a ridiculous amount of stolen bases.
I think he might lead the MLB all time stolen
Yeah,
bases.
Ricky Henderson has 1,400 plus stolen bases. He has 2,300 runs scored among 3,000 hits and just under 300 home runs. Where you look at Alex Gordon, and Alex Gordon, career 257 hitter, 190 home runs, had 1,600 hits in a 14-year career. Now, granted, Alex Gordon also had the beginning of his career going against him, where he
And
came
the
up as
ending of his career.
he, he came up as a third baseman. He wasn't good as a third baseman. Went back to the minors. They changed his position, converted him to an outfielder, and obviously the rest is history.
Well, those are very different players. I mean, an offensive
Agreed.
juggernaut
Agreed.
who
Yeah.
gets, I mean, I was going to make the argument that it sounded like Ricky Henderson, like his speed is clearly his weapon. Alex Gordon's weapon was his defensive, prowess, his arm, over 100 outfield assists, I'm sure. Um, I don't know. They're very different players, so I mean, hard to compare the two, but
Yeah. But that's I think you're spot on with that is like it's really hard to compare certain players, especially from different eras. Ricky Henderson's a completely different era. Um, but it's hard to compare, but that's kind of what you have to do. You have to go, well, Alex Gordon is a great defender, but offensively he's here, and then you look at like here's the Hall of Famers that are left fielders, and here's kind of their offensive numbers, and you're like, wow. Unfortunately, Alex Gordon's not really even sniffing a lot of these guys' statistics
offensively,
offensively.
yeah. I mean, this is a homer take because I think Alex Gordon deserves it over the next few years. If you're going to be throwing a bunch of Shin-Soo Chus out there and Edwin Encarnaciones,
He started cussing at
Howard,
me. What
if
the?
you're going to be throwing a bunch of Shins and Edwins at me, are they more deserving than Alex Gordon? No.
Well, they're not.
And
But here's the problem with this list, especially from these first timers, is I would make the argument that zero of them are Hall of Famers, and that's what stinks.
yeah. Well, not only do I agree, but how many of the people on the list do you also still not think? I mean, okay, exercise. Tell me the
Mm-hmm.
three people. If there's three inductees this year, there was three last year. There was three in 23. Out of three players, if you had to pick, who's going to the Hall of Fame? And I know two that won't be on your list. That's Manny Ramirez and A Rod.
Yeah. No, you're right. So here's what I think will happen. So is Carlos Beltran, who was part of the Astros cheating scandal, who I have my thoughts of whether or not he'll be in. Last season, he got 70% of the vote. You need 75% of the vote to get into the Hall of Fame. Typically, your number just continues to rise as you get further along in your eligibility. So I believe that Carlos Beltran will likely hit the 75% number that he needs to. Andrew Jones, who's also on this list, he had 66% of the votes out of the 75 that he needed last year. I believe that he will, if he will get close if he doesn't get in this year. So I think Carlos Beltran, Andrew Jones, and the third player, like I don't know. Like, I would need to look further at like Chase Utley's body of work to see what he needs to do. But I guess on the surface, Jimmy Rollins or Chase Utley. I would need to do a deep dive though on their numbers. That's kind of my three.
Yeah.
And again, I would need to look deeper at numbers, but and that's also because I'm like, all right, I see a lot of these players. What's so fun about the players that are on this ballot, especially the first timers, is these are players that we grew up watching. So it's like
Yeah.
you automatically want to be like, oh yeah, Rick Porcello. I remember him dominating with the Tigers and then going to Boston and doing really well there. And you want to be like, yeah, he's a Hall of Famer. And then you're like, oh, well, I guess he's really not.
A lot of these players seem like they are on here because of their longevity of being above average. All of these players are above average players and they played for a very long time. Now, are they Hall of Fame players is the question. And,
No.
Rodriguez hit a lot of home runs, man.
But
Manny
that's
Ramirez did a lot of home runs.
yeah, but then you go, why did that happen? And we're back to square one. But that's the beauty of I think MLB's Hall of Fame. I think we said it already is like it's frustrating because it's so hard to get in, but it's also awesome because it's so hard to get in. I want to so Moses, you made a short the other day about Colin Maxey, who the Royals just hired as their president of business operations. I want to spend a little bit of time talking a little bit more about that if you're
Okay.
down.
Yeah, for sure. Colin Maxey, the new president of business operations. Yeah, he's quite the character. He had a very impressive career with the Diamondbacks. Something that John Sherman touched on was that he never had a season that wasn't in the revenue positive. He was in the green every year. They grew. 14 years straight, they grew. Um, and that's something that the Royals are not familiar with. I wanted to just kind of touch, it seemed like a lot of people were interested in the stadium topic, so I wanted to kind of break down the history of what's going on. It's all recent history, so I think we're all fresh on it, but just in case you're not plugged in or you missed some headlines, I just kind of wanted to remind everyone where we're at, what happened. So, September 2021, John Sherman floated the idea of liking downtown stadiums. If you remember the conversation he was having with the media, he literally was just talking about how much he likes downtown stadiums. And he was like, I could see the Royals playing downtown. And that's all he said. He never elaborated on that, but that was September of 2021. Fast forward a year, November 15th, 2022, John Sherman officially penned a letter where he announced that the Royals are, in fact, going to be leaving Kauffman Stadium after their lease ends in 2031. Now, he had 9 years to work on that. And so far, it's been three and change. And we've gotten somewhere. But after he announced that they're officially leaving, in December of 2022, they launched a series of public forums and petitions to kind of narrow down where these locations could be. Some were downtown, some weren't downtown, some north of the river, some west of the Missouri border into the Kansas side. And anyway, so 1 month later, in January of 2023, they announced they had 5 potential locations. They didn't actually tell us. We just kind of knew that there was a handful downtown. So there was the East Village location, there was the Crossroads location, and there was the Kansas City Star location, as well as they were playing with a North Kansas City site, which would have been out of Jackson County, would have been in Clay County. And then they were also slightly toying with the idea of, we don't know what's going to happen. We could go anywhere, whoever has the deals. And they were trying to push it just to kind of egg us on and make us all think mental gymnastics. And so we were all just stuck in limbo for a year and a month. We were all stuck in limbo, wondering what the heck was going on. We weren't getting any stadium updates. If you remember, Frank White and I think it was Manny Abarca, they were just back and forth. All of these city council people and all of these county people were just not meeting. There was conflict after conflict, and each of these locations came with a whole huge list of things that they would have to attack and overcome. So a year and a month later, February 2024, the Royals announced that they had selected the Crossroads location. That was just south of the now T-Mobile Center. So right after that, from February to April, they scheduled their special election. And in April of 2024, Jackson County voted no on the big, huge vote initiative that the Royals were a part of, the Chiefs were a part of. If you remember, the Royals package was, we're building a nice new stadium downtown, south of the T-Mobile Center. And the Chiefs put together a slightly lackluster list of renovations that they were going to do to Arrowhead. Everyone was kind of just like, is this really what we're getting? Do we not have more answers than this? Quentin Lucas was being really vague. Frank White was all against it. The Royals were being really vague. The Chiefs were changing their plans every week. They were coming out with different ideas. So it got voted no. It was a pretty close margin, too, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure it was like 52, 53 to 46, 47, whatever it was. And that was a hot button topic. There was a lot of people, and it's funny how little things like that, little politics, can even make you get in an argument with a family member over, I don't want to pay extra tax. Why should I pay extra tax whenever you're already paying the tax and you don't notice? But anyway, then they kept going back and forth for months and months, and they really didn't bring us anything new. And here recently, September of 2025, Frank White was actually recalled from Jackson County. And that's a pretty big step in the stadium development direction, if the Royals choose to keep it in Jackson County, that is. And then November of 2025, the Royals bring in Cullen Maxey. And ultimately, this is something that will have to be decided very soon because a new stadium has to be built and it has to be ready to go for opening day 2031. And with all that, you look back, and right now where we're at with the stadium conversation is we really have 3 sites. There's north of the river in North Kansas City, off of Armour Boulevard and 29 Highway. There's a little spot right there on the southwest end of those roads. There's some pretty cool rendering pictures out there. There's some pretty cool skyline photos. But that is North Kansas City. That's not really what John Sherman had in mind when he said he wanted to go downtown. Second site would be Overland Park, Kansas. Kansas, during all this negotiation process, they actually announced that they were going to be expanding their star bonds, which is basically just Kansas saying, hey, we have a big budget for cool stuff, and we're willing to pay you a lot of money so that you will come to Kansas. And I think the number was something like 70% or 80% of the stadium bill, the overall stadium bill, would be paid by Kansas alone, which that's a pretty enticing thing when you're looking at it. Cash straight up from Kansas versus, a sales tax from Jackson County. They're kind of playing some gymnastics there. But that location in Overland Park would be where the Aspiria campus is. Back earlier, I think it was in earlier 2025, somebody with the Royals actually bought the Aspiria campus. So the Royals own that entire campus right now. And whether that was a Brooks Sherman thing that he did, now that he's the new real estate and development president, he's still going to be with the Royals for years to come, making moves like that, investing in different areas, properties, what so on and so forth to generate revenue, what have you. So that Aspiria campus is off of Knoll and College, 119th, something like that.
119th, yeah.
Yeah. So anywhere in that Aspiria campus, you can kind of see that there's little plots of where it could go. But there's arguments to be made. That's a cool spot. If they moved there, I really wouldn't have a huge problem with it. Same with North KC. I wouldn't really have a huge problem. There's stuff to do around there. And then lastly, the third location, I think that the Crossroads is still tentative. That previous location that was voted no. I think that the location itself has not been entirely ruled out, but I know that currently the main area that they're looking at is if I'm remembering the name correctly, the Washington Square Park. It is directly east of Union Station, just north of the Crown Center area. There's a big grass park there. Kind of a hotbed for interesting activity over there, but with a stadium there, clearly there would be less of that. That'd be a really, really cool spot. There's arguments to be made anywhere in downtown would be a cool spot for a baseball stadium, but I think that John Sherman and Royals are wanting to work with Jackson County. I think that was the stated goal, was to move a stadium downtown, and a new stadium's a new stadium. I think John Sherman will work with it, but the Aspiria campus, Overland Park area, and the North Kansas City locations are not downtown stadiums, so I'm not super sure if he would be super satisfied with that. But Yeah, the Royals are moving, and we're all along for the ride. I'm sure we'll have votes. I know that recently there was actually I don't know if it was for season ticket members exclusively or executives or investors of some kind, but there was actually like a silent, not petition, but like a silent vote to see where people would be more interested in. I think that was just in October, maybe. Yeah, the ball is rolling, no pun intended. So with Colin Maxey coming in, he is overseeing all of the business related things. Like I said in the short, it's all revenue generating, fan facing um, aspects of the team. So he is the business side. There's a baseball side, business side, and Brooke Sherman, the previous president, is going to stay with the team, and he's going to be doing a whole bunch of different real estate related things. Colin Maxey is our new president. His goal is to drive up viewership and to drive up revenue. And like I mentioned, he has been in the positive for 14 straight years in Arizona. Argue to a wall if you think that that's not good. So I think that I'm pretty excited about this next step. I think that all of Kansas City should be excited because why be down in the dumps about it when you could be excited? You know, it's obviously, like I said in the short, it freaking sucks that we're leaving, but you know, there's things to look forward to. I think from this fan's perspective, I want a jumbotron and I want fountains. If you give me a jumbotron and you give me fountains, I don't care where the stadium is, as long as the tickets aren't $100. You know, I'm gonna be there. I love the Royals. Everybody loves the Royals. And another thing I mentioned to you was downtown in general. It's Kansas City's not really a downtown city. When you say you're from Kansas City, most likely you're not from the city of Kansas City. Most likely you're from Lee Summit, you're from Overland Park, you're from Independence, you're from Raytown, you're from Grandview, wherever you might be from. And kind of the appeal of Kansas City is its suburbs. It's not really the downtown area. I mean, low key, that's how it is now. And I think John Sherman wants it to change. He wants to bring in Colin Maxey. He wants to go downtown, build this awesome multi-purpose venue, and he wants it to be a baseball village. A lot of the renderings you see of all these stadiums, there's big corporate buildings, there's apartment complexes, there's restaurant venues with big, huge areas with multiple buildings for multiple companies to come in. And you see a lot of places that have that. You know, even in Arizona, they had something kind of like it connecting the stadiums, that little Legends district that they built. But there's lots of stadiums that have that. You look at Busch Stadium, if any of you Missourians have ever gone out to St. Louis to see the Cardinals play. I've never seen the game, but I've gone to that little. They have a power and light district built and connected to Busch Stadium. And it's probably one of my favorite spots in all of St. Louis. Whenever I visit St. Louis, I look forward to going to that spot because of how cool it is. And knowing that it's right in the backyard of the stadium, like there is so much potential. And I don't know if there's like a huge downside to that. So
I am a huge proponent for downtown baseball. I have been to, I think, 6 stadiums, and most of them have been downtown. I'll tell you, I
name
see
a
a lot of.
few. Name a few, Brandon.
So
Name
I've
a few
been
that you've
I've
been to.
been to Coors Field. I've been to Bush. I've been to whatever the heck the White Sox stadium is.
Guaranteed,
Wrigley,
right?
Mill. I think it's just Rate Field now. But anyway, been to the where whatever the Brewers Stadium is called now. But I know a lot of the complaints with downtown is where are we gonna park? Or it's just gonna be too big of a mess. You can't do anything down there. And listen, number one, that's just not true. They host this I don't know if this is still true, but the T-Mobile Center was one of the like 5 most busy arenas in the world for a while, and there was never like, oh, there's something going on downtown at the arena and we can't do anything down there. They've figured it out at the current stadium. They've got that. They've finished the leg of expansion that they're doing on the streetcar. It runs all the way down into uh does it run to the plaza now?
I think it goes all the way down to the
Yeah.
plaza now.
So you have that. You can ride it all the way down to River Market. So you can park literally anywhere along Main Street or wherever, hop on there and go. And I'll tell you, as somebody that does not like driving downtown in any city. Every time I have gone to a baseball game downtown, I am like, man, I wish the Royals had this because this is how baseball should be consumed. You have, you're right in the middle of all the action. You have awesome sight lines usually. And
Hey, I do love the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I do
yeah,
love Denny's,
yeah,
but
yeah, Denny's, we love Denny's and we love looking at I-70. But I think the appeal of going and all right, we're gonna go park. We're gonna get there an hour and a half early, whatever. We're gonna park and we're gonna go eat at this restaurant that is a block down from the stadium or it's right across from the stadium. We're gonna eat and we're gonna go. We're gonna walk across the street. We're gonna walk through the gates. We're gonna walk right inside. And you had a nice meal, helped the economy, went into the stadium, enjoyed something awesome. So for me, like I think we're making too much of these issues of, oh, it's going to be parking or traffic's going to be awful. And it's not. I go to other cities that are huge. I just spent the weekend in Austin, Texas, and the traffic there is horrendous. And it made me grateful for Kansas City's traffic. I was like, man, I want to go
yeah.
drive in downtown KC because this is nothing. And I think also if you're in the mindset of, oh, just keep Kaufman, like scrap that. We're not keeping Kaufman. We're going downtown, we're going to North KC, or we're going across the state line. One of those three things are happening, and none of those three scenarios involve Kaufman still standing. I agree with you, it stinks. That's where we all grew up. That's where we all have a lot of great memories. We've seen a lot of historic moments in that stadium. But that's the way we're moving. That's the way that it was moving before John Sherman got here. I feel like we've been talking about this since 2015. And now that John Sherman's here, he's a motivated owner that wants to make that happen. He sees the vision of what a downtown ballpark can be, and he knows the revenue that it can generate to help the team. And it's just going to be better for the Royals. It's going to be better for the city in every aspect. And I think we've got to embrace that. If I had a choice, I would want to keep it on this side of the state line in Missouri, and put it downtown. I thought the crossroads spot across from Sprint Center would have been just a dream
Mm.
scenario, and I understand why that got voted down. The plans were not clear, both from the Royals and the Chiefs. So rightfully, honestly, it should have been voted no. Why don't you come back to the table and actually come up with a cohesive plan?
Yeah. You
And
can't
that's
be
what.
changing stuff like as you're going on the fly.
Hmm.
Like this
Yeah.
is
Well.
a long plan that we're all voting for. So
Yep. Well, they were changing the plans with Oak Street after early voters had already voted. So like that's like a pretty slippery slope. But I don't know. Put it downtown. Put it in the crossroads. Put it at Washington Square Park. I just think it's got to be downtown. And I think, like you said earlier, I think John Sherman would be probably a little disappointed if he ended up at 119th and Null, or if he ended up in Clay County, because that's not the vision that he had.
yeah. And it's a tough conversation to have with Kansas Cityans. A lot of us, we're used to Kaufman. Not only we're used to Kaufman, but we're used to not having change. Like these people have been enjoying Kaufman for the last 40, 50 years. I don't even know when they broke ground, but it's been
Uh,
since
it opened in
my parents were kids.
1973 is when Kauffman Stadium opened as
My
Royal
father was
Stadium.
3 years old.
Yeah.
So we got people that are really holding on, and it's a tough conversation because not everyone's a downtown person, and like I mentioned earlier, Kansas City is a very big city. If you say from Kansas City, you're likely from a suburb, and these suburbians don't go downtown very often. If you were to pull 10 people, how often do you go downtown to go on a night out on the town? Two people might say they go twice a year. It's a really, but then you might find that one person that says, "Oh, I go every weekend," and bless you for doing that. You got a lot more patience than we do, but it's a downtown stadium is not as bad as some people think. I encourage people. Obviously, it's you going out of your way to spend your money, blah blah blah. But go check out a Busch Stadium. Go drive a little further, go north to Minnesota and walk around Minnesota, Minneapolis, and go to the Twin Stadium. I saw that stadium and I absolutely loved it. Birding to the stadium was amazing. Walking right in, right off the street was awesome. And, just because you're not familiar with it doesn't mean it's bad. And
That's
there's
the key.
yeah, and there's so many positives to this whole thing. Like being able to generate revenue is a bigger thing than people realize. Like the organization making money is something like, here's an analogy I'll make. If Clark Hunt came and said, you know what, we love Arrowhead, we love the history of it, we love tailgating, but we decided that we're going to build a new stadium somewhere else. Chiefs fans, I would argue that it would be almost 50-50 compared to how lopsided of a number was with the Royals, only because the Chiefs are successful. If the Chiefs weren't so successful, if you're not going to reward Patrick Mahomes with his big dome before he retires, then it is what it is. But I don't really want us to leave Arrowhead. I like Arrowhead. I don't want us to leave Kauffman, but the writing is on the wall. We are moving, and I look at it as like, what's the best case scenario for this? And coming from someone that's going to go to Royals games, I know you want to get something out, but
Yeah.
coming from someone who goes to Royals games, I'm going to have a great time, whether it's over in Kansas, right next to that whole town center area. I'm going to have a good time if it's in North KC because of the sights. And then in downtown, you get downtown. I do like downtown. I'm not a downtown person, but I like to go do stuff it's going to make it more of an event than driving to the Truman Complex in the middle of Independence doing a bunch of nothing, looking at a Denny's. And hey, you want to go get Taco Bell later? No,
Yeah, they got
nobody
a
wants to
Taco
get
Bell
Taco
now.
Bell
Don't throw
later.
shade.
Yeah.
um, I was gonna say you said something that just was so. I'm glad you said it because it was so important. And you said the people would be about 50-50 with the Chiefs because they are successful, where it's so lopsided with the Royals. And I think you're so right with that. I've seen a lot of people say, oh, we shouldn't be worried about a stadium because we need to worry about the product on the field. And we're here to tell you that those are two completely different things. Cole and Maxie's job is to do all the things that Moses stated of generating revenue and building the business side and helping them be successful there, which will ultimately help the product on the field. But those are
Yeah,
two
that's
completely separate issues. So if you're
two
like,
completely separate issues that meet in the middle eventually. If you have a
mhm,
team that doesn't make money, you can't have a great product on the field unless you get lucky in the draft, bring some rando up like Bobby Witt Jr., who turns out to be an all-star, and then they carry you. Like we were talking before, like you're going to get a lot of these plucky teams that somehow make it and they somehow pull it out of their butt, but that's very uncommon for small market teams to be like that. John Sherman does not want us to be a small market team. He wants us to be a larger market team, bringing in a ton of money. And there's ways to do that. In 2025, if you are in a city like Kansas City, where the fandom is there, but sometimes the money's not there yet, he's trying to get the money here.
yeah,
And once the money's here, you're going to start seeing it slowly. This might be something if you have little kids, maybe when they're, in their teenage years or their early 20s, they're going to be reaping the benefits of all of this. But
hmm,
this is for the betterment of not only the team but the city because there's going to be so much revenue coming in. Hopefully,
yeah, yeah, and that's the goal. And I think John Sherman's gotten a lot of heat since he's taken over as owner, and I don't think it's justified. I think everything that he has done has shown that he wants to create sustainability on the field, but he wants to also create an area that will be beneficial to the Royals and for the fans. And I think it's, and I'm not going to sit here and try to defend billionaires. We don't need to do that. But I think it's easy to be like, oh, he's a billionaire. He just wants to make a ton of money. He doesn't care about us. But I think he does. I think these last two seasons have shown you that. We can flip to extending Bobby Witt Jr. in his pre-arbitration years, buying that out and having him sign a long-term deal. No, I'm not trying to throw any shade at the previous ownership, but that would not have happened under David Glass. Bobby Witt Jr. would have played his time under team control here, and he would have walked. He'd be a Yankee. He'd be a Dodger. He'd be a whatever big market team gives him the most money, and you're seeing that. So get behind what is happening here because yeah, it's a big change, but it's really exciting. It's a really fun spot to be in. Now I'm with you. Like we've just kind of had crickets really since the vote happened, which honestly I think is good because there was a lot of yapping before the vote and not a whole lot of answers. But I think we'll know something in the next 6 weeks of, hey, we're right here. This is what we want to do. And then we're going to figure out all the logistics behind that, whether it's going to come down to a vote, whether there's going to be a lot of private funding or what's going to happen. But I think we're,
Yep.
we're, we're close.
And if you guys remember in episode 1 of Everybody Loves Royals, Brandon and I talked about how we appreciate the Royals doing something. This new ownership is doing something. And I consider the Colin Maxey signing them doing something. That's money out of John Sherman's pocket. You all realize that's money out of this billionaire's pocket to bring in another president. They're not removing one, they're adding one. And now you have two people with good major league salaries doing major league jobs that require a lot of attention. And can we give John Sherman credit for bringing in another leadership piece to help with this? Because, clearly over these years, they haven't been able to get there and they've had their attention divided, and now they have people to focus on things. I still believe in Brooke Sherman to be able to pick a place. I think John Sherman said that when they brought in Colin Maxey, and during Colin Maxey's first initial interview, he said something like, don't ask me any stadium questions because I literally know nothing. Because John Sherman is working with Brooks Sherman, still no relation there, by the way. They're just same last name, but they're working together to find the spot. Once they find the spot, literally, it's off to Colin Maxey and his expertise. He will design, plan, everything like that. And I mean, either sit on the outside and sit there with your arms crossed, pouting, or, be a Royals fan and be excited because everybody loves the Royals, right? Like we want everyone to be happy with this team and the direction we're going. And I mean, I'm trying to be optimistic. Obviously, there might be some degree of coping here, but screw it. I mean, I'm still excited. Even if you're a surface level baseball fan, surface level Royals fan, like it's something new. If you're not satisfied with the Royals not going to the playoffs, then this is something. Like we're doing something. It's fun. So, and if you are really sad that they're moving, go buy some tickets, go to Kauffman Stadium for the next 3 or 4 or 5 years and really soak it up because we're moving.
It's not happening. We've talked a lot about off the field stuff, what's happening now. There's been a little bit of talk about what's the Royals are planning to do to improve the on the field product heading into 2026. And we said a couple weeks ago that John Sherman is happy where the Royals payroll is at. I think it's about 138 million, I think was the number that we said. So we're not expecting any major free agent splashes or free agent signings that the Royals are going to be a part of. And that's usually would have been true any year. They're not, that's with a small market team, they're not going to be they're not getting Kyle Tucker. They're going to be in the kind of mid range of free agents. But a very common way for every team, but small market teams especially, to improve their roster is trading. And we all know the Royals have a surplus of starting pitching. It's something that has happened over the last couple of years. Is the Royals, in my entire lifetime, had the most average starting pitching ever. And I'd look at teams like Cleveland and Tampa and go, how can we do that? And over the last 2 years, the Royals have done that. They've had a top 5 pitching staff for 2 seasons, but they have a lot of those starting pitchers, and they have too many. And when you have too many, you go, all right, well, what are our needs? Oh, we need outfield help. So what's likely going to happen is starting pitchers are going to move. Now, that's not going to be Cole Reagans, Seth Lugo, Michael Wacha, but names like Noah Cameron, Chris Bubich are kind of the ones that are on the chopping block. It seems more likely that it would be a Chris Bubich. I think they have plans for Noah Cameron. He has a lot of team control left, obviously. I think he has 5 years of control left versus Chris Bubich is 1. I think trying to flip Chris Bubich for an outfielder, kind of the same way that the Royals moved Brady Singer for Jonathan India, I think will be a move that we see at some point this offseason. And listen, I would love for the Royals to be like, let's just go get Kyle Tucker. But I read this article from MLB.com and I was like, they're talking about improving the outfield, which is something that I've been harping on for a year and a half, and tried to do it last offseason, failed. I think they're gonna really address that need.
I hate to see a player go, but I also hate to see Chris Bubich throw 6 or 7 innings of 1-run ball and us get 0 run support. So, when there's a need, there's a need. And when you have a surplus, and it might be a surplus for us. It might not be a surplus for a team like the Dodgers, who has triple our payroll. But when you're a small market team and you have valuable pieces and you don't have a lot of control left, you kind of look to capitalize your situation. You don't want a repeat of last season. If we, to harp on the previous regime, we wouldn't trade someone like that because we want to keep them. They're a good person. But when there's
Such a good
value
guy.
there, I know. Chris Bubich is so sweet.
Yeah, such
He makes a mean casserole.
good high character guy. We should give him a ridiculous contract.
What, like 2 years, 55 million?
Yeah.
What was the Ian Kennedy deal?
It was like it was 4 for 70 or something like that.
Right.
Hunter Dozier didn't sign like an outlandish deal, but it was just one of those like, what are we doing?
Yeah. So you hate to see good players go, but honestly, I'm happy to see good players come in. And starting pitching is something that the Royals are really good at actually in 2025. And yeah, give me a Joe Adell. Give me somebody that's, we're going to have a couple of years. I think Jonathan India only had 2 years on his deal. So give me someone for a couple of years. See if we can make something happen with the team we got. Left field is probably the biggest need. Center field, we have, I think Kyle Isbell will probably keep his job unless we bring someone in to be center field and move Kyle to left. And I think we're going to give Jack Caglione another try and right. I think that DH is going to be split between, Vinny and Salvi and whoever else is needing
Carter
time,
Jensen.
like Carter Jensen.
I think the plan, and it'd be hard to have a worse year for Jack Caglione in 2025, but
Yeah. Hey, these new hitting coaches, they're going to come in and they're going to fix this guy. We're going to have Aaron Judge on our hands.
yeah, so we're gonna have Cags that is the plan for right field. Kyle Isbell, one of the better center fielders in the league, was a Gold Glove finalist. I think they're happy with him there. His bat's fine. It's not great, but you can kind of let that go a little bit if the defense is there. So find a left fielder. Try to get a left fielder that can give you 500 at bats. That can they can play 150 games. Like we've got to get away from, in my opinion, this platooning nonsense. Find somebody that can be there every day.
Yeah. I can't stand, going to a Royals game and we got Dairon Blanco out there with John Rave and, Michael Garcia is not even in the lineup because he needs a rest day. So we have no-name third baseman who I can't even remember his name. What was that guy's name? That played third base for us a few games. White guy. Nick Lofton.
Oh yeah.
Nick Lofton. I love a good utility guy, but come on, guys. So, this is something to look forward to. And also, just to touch on what we talked about last week, today is the deadline for the qualifying offer decisions. So a lot of these free agents, the big name free agents, a lot of their teams threw out those qualifying offers, and today's the deadline. So get excited because we're going to see some names decline, some names will accept, and then we'll kind of know moving forward who's going to be getting these offers coming.
There was a signing, the Josh Naylor sign an extension with the Mariners, 5-year deal to stay with them to be their first baseman. So good for them.
Yeah, those Mariners are just they're pretty good. I like to see teams that aren't super huge make swings like that and keep big names. I don't like Josh Naylor. Like I like him, but I hate him. He's like a he's like a Josh Allen. You watch him against the Raiders and you're like, that guy's so good. But then you watch him against you and you're like, I hate him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited for that. Are there any particular outfielders that you saw on the potential trades? The only one I saw was Joe Adell, and the only reason I say that name is because he kills the Royals. He is amazing against the Royals. I bet you if you were to stack up a whole season of Joe Adell versus the Royals, all 162, he would be Barry Bonds without the juice.
I don't have a name. I don't have a specific name. I know that Jaron Duran was a player that they looked at last year that could be somebody that they talk about again. To me, it's just find somebody that can be a solid bat and a above average defender for you, and I will be happy. I don't care what their name is, but we. To me, it's just important that like we cannot go, and I know that we won't, but we can't go into the season with MJ Melendez as our solution and Hunter Renfroe
Hunter
is the right
Renfroe.
fielder. We cannot do that.
Yeah,
And it's not. I don't have anything against MJ, but I just he's not for the Royals organization. He's not a everyday major league player. Maybe he is for the Marlins or the Rangers, whatever other team. Maybe he needs a change of scenery. He's a great.
yeah,
He is unfortunately the 4A player where you're too good for AAA, but you're not good enough for the majors, and he's just kind of stuck there.
yeah. Hate to see it, but it is what it is. I mean, I was an MJ fan whenever I watched him hit a walk-off home run, but ever since then, it's been. I think that's the. I'll be honest, that might be the only positive core memory I have of MJ Melendez. Yeah,
So,
yeah,
but yeah, no, that's yeah. Well, we've got a long way to go, and we'll start to see some of that stuff open up here in the next couple of weeks.
and
And
coming up on that significant date, um, November 21st. So this weekend, or yeah, close to this weekend, will be the non-tender deadline. Um, and then we got a few weeks until some winter meetings in December. Um, yeah, it's something to get excited about. You know, it is the off season. I'm watching the MLB post videos of random old dudes taking golf swings, and I'm like, tell me it's the off season without telling me it's the off season.
yeah,
But you know, at least we have something to talk about during this off season. I'm excited. You know, everybody loves the Royals, so. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap up episode 3 of Everybody Loves Royals. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. And Brandon, you got anything else to say?
get over it. It's the downtown stuff. No, I got nothing
You heard
else.
him. You heard him. Peace.
See ya.
Peace.